Morning.
Okay, who here has been anxious and it's been a good thing?
Very good.
Anyone?
Very unique.
Give us an example how it helped you.
Before a rugby game, you get nervous and shows like.
Okay, so that helped you and made you focus
Yeah,
more. And we say that everything can be used for good or evil, right? But mainly anxiety will be used to work against you, eh? But it can be, of course, be used if you're anxious about something, about your exam tomorrow. You're going to get up and learn. So it can be used for good as well. But 9 times out of 10 it's going to be used for against you. Satan's going to use it against you. So there's going to be a short lesson today. We're just going to check out the scriptures in your book. Psalm 37:8. God instructs you there not to fret, not to worry, not to be anxious. God instructs you, don't be anxious. Why is it that we become anxious? Were you anxious as a child? Let me ask you that. Some of us were, right? But 9 times out of 10, as a kid, you never worried about your next meal, did you? You just thought, oh, mommy and daddy's going to give it. You know, you weren't worried about it. So where did the anxiety come in, is the question. When did you start getting anxious about your next meal?
We had to make it ourselves.
When you had to provide it. Yeah. So, that means that when we start standing and relying on ourselves, we don't trust ourselves, isn't it? We trust other people more than we trust ourselves. We trust our mom and dad to supply our needs, right? But as soon as we had to start supplying our needs, we saw how unstable it could be. And now we start judging God, who says that I will supply all of your needs on ourselves, on our own insecurities. And yet God is not a man. You see where the problem comes in. When you start equating God to human flesh, there's trouble. Because there is no perfection in human flesh. But God is perfect. So now, God says, do not fret. That's an instruction, that's a command. Don't worry. Isn't that what you as a parent say to your kids? You've got kids here?
Yes.
Don't worry, I'll provide your needs. Exactly the same thing, right? Now, if you in human flesh make every effort to, I know every single lady sitting in the back there who's got a child would give up their meal for their child.
Yes.
As long as their child is child, they will go hungry for it. And probably every dad, isn't it? And yet we don't believe that God will do this. God, who can provide every meal, who can perform a miracle, can supply every need, says don't worry. And yet we don't actually believe it. Why? Why? Because we've never been taught this, have we? Who's taught you this? Anybody? In school? Have you ever heard of this before? Oh, don't worry, God will supply your needs. From a child? No. So it's alien to you as an adult. Now when you've been trying to supply your own needs and seen how unstable everything is, that 1 minute, you're actually only 1 paycheck away from the payment. Isn't it? You get fired this month, you've got 1 paycheck left until you hit the street. That's how unstable it is. That's the reality of the situation. So even the people who have got jobs are living under this cloud of fear. Anxiety. You don't want to admit it to yourself, obviously. You know. Who wants to go around admitting that you're scared all the time? But this is the reality of the situation. Isn't it? So not only the people who are jobless are walking under a cloud of fear where they're going to get their next meal, because the economy is so bad and the people just don't have money to give. Because there are so many people. Every robot you go to, I mean, we go to, what is that big mall in Pretoria?
Menlo.
Huh? Menlo. Right outside Menlo. Man, I've never seen anyone that thin. I thought I was thin when I was using. But this guy is really, his legs are like this with his knees. His knees actually make a knob. And his elbows, so thin is he, bumming outside Menlyn. People just don't have the money to keep. They wind the windows up because at every robot there's one. The next one you get to, they're actually kneeling in the middle of the road on the white line, begging you, please. And nobody gives because there's just not enough to go around, it seems. So anxiety and fear are the norm, isn't it? In this world today. It's not just South Africa. It's all around the world. You get your poor all around the world, right? We only see the Hollywood side of America, but believe me, they've got their shanty towns, they've got their squatter camps, they've got their, what they call trailer parks. You know, poverty is all over. But now what differentiates a Christian from a normal person, from an unbeliever? Surely it should be that they trust God to be their provider, the very basic thing. Because he says over and over, be anxious for nothing. I'm your provider. You see, but the world has taught us that we are our own providers. We are the captains of our own ship. We determine and steer our own lives. That's what the world has taught us, isn't it? Go and get an education, get a good job, get to the top of the ladder, kick everybody else down, make sure they don't steal your position, etc. Me, myself, I. Buy, accumulate a lot of stuff, and then you can relax when you retire. And the earlier you retire, the more you're going to enjoy your life. Isn't that what the world teaches us? And yet, if you look at the Germans, when Hitler took over, in one day he changed their economy, that their money became null and void overnight. Overnight. I think it was the Reichmark to the Deutschmark, something like that. I can't remember exactly. Like that, one man changed that whole country. We were rich one day, the next day it was paper. You could go and make a briar with it. It was worth nothing. So you still walk around. In 1932, I think it was, the Great Depression in America, people jumping out of buildings. You know what happened? If you owed $5 on your house, okay, I'm being silly now, but if you owed 500 Rand on your house, and you did not have the money, they foreclosed on everybody who had debt immediately. If you could not pay your debt, they went and took the possession, because it doesn't belong to you until it's fully paid. We all know that in our society. And overnight, the banks foreclosed on everybody in the whole country. People were jumping out of windows committing suicide. Because what they had relied on was something that looked solid, but was actually insubstantial, if I can put it that way. So if you put your full confidence, I do not understand you've got to have money to function in this world. We know that. I can't go on a mission unless I've got somebody who's bought the Bibles and has paid my airfare to go over to wherever on missions. You understand? I understand you have to have it, but if you put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, it can happen. Because if you look, do you know what inflation is? Inflation is, in my day, when I was small, for every rand that you had, they had that equivalent of gold. So your rand was worth that gold because the gold was there. That's not there anymore. We'll use America as an example. In Fort Knox is empty. There's no gold in there. So what is happening is they are printing your dollar bill on a piece of paper, but it's actually worthless. It's actually costing the printer, the Reserve Bank, the ink and the paper. So who's paying for that? Because there's no money, because it's worthless now, right? You're paying for it. That's what's called inflation. So the bank orders $1 million from the Reserve Bank. They print it out, and they take 10% or whatever it is it costs them to print that, off the value of that money immediately, right? So the bank's only getting 900,000 instead of $1 million. Who's got to pay for that? The man on the street. Somebody's got to pay for it. Somebody's got to pay that person to print the money. Because he had no money to print it with in the first place. You see what a domino effect this is. And so your inflation keeps increasing year by year by year. So your inflation rate in South Africa is an average of 23%. But your increase on your salary is an average of 7 to 10%. So you're building off the rate. You're going backwards. And this is causing fear and anxiety and pressure on society. Because in 3 years' time, I'm paying 3 times the amount of what I paid for the same thing, but I've only got a 7% increase. Right? But it's gone up 64% or 69%. And I've got a 21% increase. I'm going backwards. I can only buy a third of what I used to buy with my money 3 years ago. So it's causing unrest because now me as the provider of the house for the household has to start looking for another job for more money. And there are no jobs. You see, the whole world system is geared against walking in peace. Is what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to put it down on you guys. This is reality of the world we're living in at this point. Very sad, but very true. And yeah, God is saying, don't worry. Huh? How is it possible? How is it possible? Only if you've got a relationship with Him and you know who He is. It's the only way. That you know that He is faithful and true. He's got it tattooed on His leg. It's His character. He's faithful and true. And He's not a liar. Until you know that you know it, yeah. Not just yeah. You're going to walk in anxiety, isn't it? So you've actually got to get to know who God is to be able to appropriate this promise that I will provide all of your needs according to my goodness, according to my abundance, God says. Because I own everything. But do you believe it? It's a tough one, eh? It's a tough one. Because we are geared to provide for ourselves and be in a comfort zone where we are okay, isn't it? It's only then that we'll start looking around and saying, okay, who else needs? I can give, I've got enough, isn't it? We are not geared to give out of our poverty, are we? That hurts. Am I right? So when God says, do not fret, it's something that we really have to go and meditate about. And it's the actual very basis of our relationship with God. Can we trust Him? Because if we can't trust Him, then what are we doing by saying that we're Christian? By your fruit, once again, you shall know them. You see what I'm saying? And nowhere does God say, I'm going to make you rich, like the people propagate from the pulpit these days. If you give, God's going to give you sevenfold. I don't see that anywhere in the Bible. He does say if you give your tithe in Malachi 3, if you give your tithe, I'll open the windows of heaven and bless you. He doesn't say I'll give you more money. He says I will bless you, you know. So, yeah, just be a little bit wary of what people preach from the pulpit. All right. Anxiety and worry are both attacks on the mind intended to distract us from serving the Lord. The enemy also uses both of these torments to press our faith down so it cannot rise up and help us to live in victory. How am I going to hear God's voice if I'm walking around anxious and worried about how I'm going to provide for my family? Right? How am I going to walk in hearing God's still small voice of guidance when I'm under that kind of pressure? Because where's my head then? My head is trying to scheme, yes, like Sean's got, how am I going to get some of that? Or whatever the case might be. My mind is consumed by Maak 'n plan, my brother. I'm going to make a plan. I've got hungry mouths to feed, whatever the case might be, right? That is all that's going to consume your mind. How are you going to do it? How are you going to make a plan? You see what I'm saying? You can't think of anything else. You can't sit and just get a little bit of rest, a little bit of peace. Sit down and think clearly. Can you? Not so. Because you've got this pressure on you and it's unrelenting. See what I'm saying? You see that the ruler of this world has worked out the Babylonian system, the monetary system of the world. And now, with the computers and all this, it's become what they call it, a global backyard. Right? When something crashes, the yen crashes, it affects all the currencies of the world. Even South Africa's economy feels the pressure. You see what I'm saying? It's become like a global backyard, if I can put it that way. So all these things are causing lots of frown marks on people's faces. They're walking around acting like everything's fine. But it's this unrelenting pressure that's either going to drive you to God or away from God. And 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, it drives you away from God. Because what do people say? People say, if this is how God lets the world go to pot, if I can put it that way, why would I want to serve God? You see, they immediately turn the ruler of this world to God and say, okay, why would God allow a 3-year-old baby to get raped? See what I'm saying? They're looking at the wrong small g God. That was not God's intention. Man gave it over to another small g God who is doing this. Now they're blaming the capital G God for it. That is the lie. Does it make sense? Yes, you guys are looking very down here this morning. I've got good news for you. My Father owns the whole world with all the money in it. There's the good news. Just trust Him and He will provide your needs. If you get into the will of God and you know what God's will is for your life, you will succeed.
Amen.
You will succeed. Because God will provide all of your needs. Isn't that cool? But you've got to get into the will of God. You've got to know why God created you. It is a bit of a downer message, eh? But who's your daddy? It's absolutely impossible to worry and live in peace at the same time. When you've got a relationship with Jesus, you can be in the middle of a storm. But because you know that He's going to provide all of your needs, you can walk in peace. I am the financial manager of Jericho Recovery Centre. When we hit a problem, I smile. You know what I do? I say, okay, Lord, this is your project. You've placed me here as a cog in your machine of Jericho. I want to see how you're going to pull us out of this one. And I step back. And He comes through. When we started off here, man, we started off with 30,000 rand a year, with 30,000 bucks. That's it. And a hell of a load of faith that God gave us. That's how we started off. And we actually came here, we were 10 people. We had 6 staff. 2 people that we were sponsoring, and 2 people were paying for 10 people. That's how we started off. And with the faith. That was it. And I saw month by month, for the last 6 years that Jericho has been in existence, that supernaturally, I do not know how, because the figures do not add up, but the money is there. I don't know how. I can't explain to you how. Because I work with the figures and I see the figures don't add up. And yet the money is in the bank to pay the bills. That is how I can come to a point of where I can say to God, all right, I want to see how you get us out of this one, Lord. You know, and I just don't worry about it. All right, look, I'm not Superman. I do have my moments of anxiety, but I take it captive. I take it captive unto the Lord and just say, oh, okay, it's your project. Jericho's not operating because of Kevin. It's your project. I'm just, you know, blessed to be a part of it. Here we go, Lord. It's yours. Cop out there. Let's check what you're going to do. He comes through every time, and he's been doing that for 6 years now. That is why I can stand and say this to you from the bottom of my heart, from my spirit, that God will provide all of your needs. He might do it like 1 second before midnight, because he seems to love doing that for some reason. To test your faith, you know, or whatever the case might be. But he comes through every single time. Every single time. When we came here with our 10 people and 2 people paid, which I mean didn't make any sense whatsoever. You've got rent to pay, you've got electricity to pay, you've got food to eat, to buy, you've got to buy cell phones, you've got to buy printers, you've got to buy computers. We had nothing. Came here with a car with clothes and a guitar sticking out the window. You know, it sounds like reality. And yet, here we stand today with everything that we need to operate. Yes, we're not 5-star, but I'm telling you, our God is a 5-star God, the one who is providing, because God will use your lack of 5-starness to test you, won't he? Look at the different personalities just of the ladies in the ladies section. If they can learn to get on with each other here in this enclosed environment, to go out there into the world, it's a breeze. It's a breeze. They can handle anybody and any situation. Am I right? Whereas if you're in a 5-star and you've got your own room, you won't learn those things. You won't learn those character traits and those communication skills. You see what I'm saying? God is not confused. He's not. Every single person sitting here, God is predestined to come here. He has worked on the hearts and he's orchestrated that you come here because he wants you here for a specific reason and a specific purpose. Now, if God knows every single hair on Sean's head, why he'd want to know that, I don't know. But he does. Then he's an intimate God. And if that God says to you, listen, Sean, don't worry, man, I'm going to provide for you. Don't worry what's going on around you. It might look like things are looking like, ooh, here comes trouble. I'm there. I've got your back. I go before you. And I am your rear guard. I form a hedge around you. I provide you with at least one angel that's your guardian angel. There's others because they're recording everything that you do in books. Okay? Now if a God goes to that amount of trouble for you, and he says to you, don't worry, I'll supply all of your needs, why wouldn't you believe it? Because you can't see the angels, and you can't see what he's doing. Am I right? As social development says, if it's not written, it doesn't exist. That's where the faith comes in. And that kind of faith will only be built, as I say, I've only built faith in this area of knowing that God is my provider over the 6 years where he's been providing for me. Before I became born again, nobody gave me anything. I had to fight and claw, like most of us, for everything that we had. Right? Now I went to rehab and I got a freebie. Okay? So I did my program for a year, and then I worked 2 years for the year. I didn't have to, the guy didn't ask me to. But I'd become born again in that first year. And I came to show appreciation to the guy who saved my life. Because if he hadn't had that heart, if God didn't work on his heart to say, there's a freebie for you, I would be dead. Okay? So I worked 2 years for him before he started giving me a stipend. You know how heavy it is at the age of 49 to bum coffee and sugar and milk because you don't get any tap money at all. It was a humbling experience, very humbling experience. But I learned to rely on God. I learned to stop asking and people would give. I learned to rely on God in that time. Had I not been in a time of hardship, I would have been proud. I've got my coffee, I've got my sugar. Why must I rely on God? I'm relying on myself. Isn't it? I'm just giving you a little example out of my own life now. Or would you like me to read the book, Robert? It is by experience. It is through hardship where God can work miracles, isn't it? So, I was there 3 years, and I went on holiday down to PE, and I said to God, yes, like, you know, Lord, I've been serving you now 3 years. Although I've come from a religious background, I didn't have a relationship, so I don't class myself as a Christian until the relationship started. I said to God, yes, like, you know, Lord, I'm 50 years old and I'm riding on a bus. Surely this must be the last time that I'm going to go on holiday on a bus. You know? And I forgot about it. And I said to him, you know, Lord, I want to serve you. But what I need is a vehicle. I need a computer. I don't even have a cell phone. And I need a cell phone. I need those things if I'm going to serve you, you know, well. 2 weeks later, I got back from my holiday. The day after I got back, it was 2 weeks later. A woman walks up to me, I'm not going to mention the name, because I don't want to steal her blessing. Walks up to me and she says, come and check the car I just bought. That was a little VW Jetta or something. VW something. Yes, and I checked his car out and I was thinking, no, right. This chick doesn't have a license even. Why would she, you know, blessed with a car? And here I am, like a code 14. And she says, jump in the car, what do you think of it? How does it feel? And I had to really take off the captain and be happy for her. And she gets out and she says to me, here's the papers, God said I must give you this car. You just have to go and have it put on your name, that's all. Yes. Like, yes, now you feel bad. Anyway, that same day, person gave me a computer and the next day they gave me a cell phone. In 2 days I got all three. And it wasn't like, God, please won't you give me these things. I just said, Lord, yes, I think I'm going to serve you, I really need these things. And I forgot about it. And God just like, He will give you the desires of your heart. This is how I know that God's my provider. Since then, I have been blessed with, this is my third car, that I've been blessed with. And they've just been getting better and better. I mean, you are. I haven't even asked for them. God has just blessed me, which is like, it's crazy, because in my old life, no one blessed me with a blooming tin of poultry. Right? Nothing, nothing, nothing. This is how good God is when you just like hand it over and say, Daddy, I need this, man. You know? I'm serving you, you know, I'm struggling a bit with this, I need this. And Daddy just be proud. So I'm not saying, go and give 100,000, He's going to give you 7 million back. All I'm saying is He will provide you. He sees your heart. He sees your heart and He will provide. I have never, man, I used from the age of 12 to the age of 49. Okay? That's around 35, 37 years. Can you imagine what I've got up to? Probably not. Do you know that I have never been to jail once? I have done housebreaking, all the rest of it. High as a kite. Is it possible? Without God holding you in His hand? No. I've been chased with people with axes. Yeah, well, whatever you guys have done, I've done. That is the love of God. That is how I know God can protect me. Because I would never have made it in jail, let's face facts. Really, I'm not a... Do I look like a jail counselor? God is your provider, is what I'm trying to say to you, but you have to walk a road with Him. You have to get into situations for Him to perform miracles, which are not comfortable situations. And that is the only way that you are going to learn that it is only God in this world that you can trust. You can trust people to a certain extent. You can trust your mom and dad to a certain extent. They are not perfect, they are people. You understand what I'm saying? But God you can trust fully. That if it's something good, He will give it to you. If it's something for your benefit that's not going to pull you down, He will give it to you. I'll give you, again, we'll come back to relationships. We're all lonely, we're all looking for a partner. God is not going to give you the right partner, the perfect partner that He has created for you unless you're ready for it. Because you are just going to break the love down. Why would God do that? Right? He was not going to give Sean a Maserati if he's still on tricycle stage. He still needs 3 wheels to empty himself. You understand what I'm saying? He's not going to give you that blessing. He's going to give you that blessing when you're ready for it. He wants to give it. But you need to be ready and you need to be able to walk in faith and seek the giver of the gifts, not the gifts. There's the difference. If you're seeking God and not what God can give you or provide for you, otherwise you are worshipping the gifts. And that can only happen over a period of time of walking with Him. There is nothing that can... We want everything to be instant. Unfortunately, faith is not built instantly. You can get the gift of faith, as I preached on Friday night, for that specific moment to do that specific thing, a miracle. But faith is not an instantaneous thing. Alright, so I hope I've encouraged you a bit here today. I don't want to waffle on and make myself big here. But God, He knows what you need. All He's waiting for is for you to love Him. And He will show you what true love is about. Amen. He will show you what true love really is. And that's amazing. Lord, I thank you. I thank you for each and every single person here. I thank you for your love, your mercy, your grace. Lord, I just pray that we will put our faith and our trust in that one specific trait of yours called grace. If we place it in there, we know that you will be our provider. I pray that you go with each and every single one of us here today and that you bless us, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.